live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Anne Waldo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, federal government says foreign lobbyists are driving the narrative of an alleged Christian genocide in the country, urges the U.S. government to approach the issue with understanding. Absence of Omoyele Sowore in court stalls his arraignment, prompting the presiding judge to adjourn the case to December the 2nd. Coordinating Minister of Health, Mohammed Ali Pate, secures a multi-million-dollar investment to establish a diagnostic center in the nation's capital. And Democrats sweep the first major election of Donald Trump's second term, with the U.S. president saying the ongoing government shutdown is a major factor.
On business news tonight, President Bola Tinubu requests approval of the National Assembly to secure 1.15 trillion naira domestic loan to help finance the 2025 budget deficit.
On sports news tonight, Africa's football governing body, CAF, gives the green light to expand the Women's Africa Cup of Nations from 12 to 16 teams.
And from the nation's capital, PDP Board of Trustees declares support for the Umar Damagum-led National Working Committee to proceed with the party's selective convention, scheduled for November 15 and 16.
We begin tonight with the federal government reiterating its commitment to securing Nigeria and her people and vowing to exterminate all terrorists within the country. Addressing a news conference in Abuja against the backdrop of the designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern by the United States of America, the Minister of Information, Mr. Mohammed Idris, says the claim by the U.S. government is a false narrative based on wrong data. He insists security agencies in the country are winning the war against insurgency.
The National Press Center is filled to capacity as journalists converge for a news conference by the Minister of Information and National Orientation. Nigeria faces long-standing security challenges, and the government believes it's a war against peace-loving citizens as it counters the narrative of the government of the United States of America.
Any narrative suggesting that the Nigerian state is failing to take action against religious attacks is based on misinformation or faulty data. Several leading personnel of the very dedicated armed forces of Nigeria and the country's intelligence agencies are Christians working and succeeding alongside their Muslim colleagues in the fight against extremists and criminals waging war against our country and against our values.
Success stories recorded by the administration of President Tinubu in the fight against insurgency is reeled out.
In the last 2 years, significant progress, to give you an example, has been made in the war against terrorism across the Northwest, Northeast, Southeast, North Central, and other parts of this country. In the last 8 months, the Nigerian military, like I said, have neutralized over 592 terrorists in Borno State alone. Many of them have been sent to their own world beyond. Over 11,200 hostages have been freed, 11,200 hostages, and this is still going on. More importantly, over 124 insurgents and their families have surrendered. They have handed over more than 11,000 weapons to the security agencies.
Without mincing words, the government declares that bandits remain terrorists and will be treated as such.
The previous administration has already done that. The Buhari administration has already designated these as terrorists. You cannot be coming out and be killing people and then you are being treated as a normal person. These are terrorists, and the Nigerian government characterized them as such, and will continue to work to ensure that we deny them the space and the oxygen that they require to operate within our borders.
The failure of previous administrations to tackle the menace is identified as a major challenge.
We all know that this insecurity did not start yesterday, nor started in 2023. But from the actions taken so far, if one is unbiased, you will know that from the plethora of actions taken in the last 2 years, if we had taken those actions in the last 10 years, we probably won't be where we are today.
As the government worked towards addressing the security challenges bedeviling the nation, media practitioners are enjoined to stop celebrating and glorifying the activities of terrorists.
On the count of 2.
Meanwhile, legal luminary Femi Falana says although the comments by the U.S. president might be due to wrong intelligence data, the comments have brought attention to Nigeria's security situation, as is urging the government and security agencies to intensify the fight against terrorism. He spoke on our political program, Politics Today.
So the government must be honest with Nigeria and react to those reports one way or the other. And there is a way in which you also mobilize Nigerians, if you are honest with them, to fight anti-democratic forces. The government must go back to the drawing table. What could have led, haven't listened to those who have been arrested. And then, one way or the other, address the problems. As regards what is going on in the United States? Again, yes, the two events, people may want to analyze them, but what is important show is the fact that Mr. Trump has drawn global attention to a crisis in Nigeria, which is that gunmen are killing citizens in Nigeria. If we try to reduce it to attacks on Christians, that is its own problem. But for us as Nigerians, and for the government has a duty under the Constitution to guarantee the life and property of every person living in Nigeria. If criminal gangs are now in control of force in the country, balance of force in our country is in favor of criminal element, the government must review its own counter-insurgency operations with a view to protecting Nigerians.
We head to the courts now, where Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court Abuja has adjourned the suit of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, to November the 7th for him to either enter his defense in his ongoing alleged terrorism trial or have the case foreclosed. At the resumed hearing on Wednesday, Justice Omotosho said it is his duty as a judge in the case to accord the defendant sufficient opportunity to put in his defense. The judge spoke while ruling on an application by the prosecuting lawyer, Adegboyega Awomolo, that the court should foreclose the case since Mr. Kanu had failed to enter his defense, having spent 5 out of the 6 days the court allocated to him. Mr. Awomolo prayed the court to take note of the defendant's position and adjourn for judgment. But earlier, Mr. Kanu, who represented himself, maintained his position that there is no valid charge against him to warrant him being called to enter a defense. The arraignment of activist Omoyele Sowore has suffered yet another setback as Justice Mohammed Umar of the Federal High Court Abuja adjourned proceedings to December the 2nd. At the day's proceedings, counsel to the Department of State Services, Akiolu Kehinde, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, had urged the court to issue a bench warrant against Mr. Sowore for being absent to take his plea without justification after he was served the charges and hearing notice from the last adjourned date. He further informed the court that they had received a letter from his lawyer, Deji Adeyanju, describing it as being in bad faith and intended to delay the case. In his ruling, Justice Mohammed refused the request for the bench warrant and directed that X Corporation be properly served with the charges through its lawyer.
The matter couldn't go on because, for reasons best known to the first defendant, he didn't come to court today. This matter was adjourned at the last adjourned date at the instance of all the parties, and we made sure that hearing notice was served on the first defendant. And he's not here today. Let him come and face the charge. He's dodging. But the wheel of justice may be slow, but it will definitely get to its destination. So we have another date, 2nd of December, 2025, by the grace of God. And the court rightly said, if on that day, this game of hide and seek is still being played, the court will do the needful. We actually applied for his bench warrant today. I made that application that should be arrested and kept in custody until the next adjourned date, because that is the proper thing. If you have a criminal charge on your head, you are under an obligation to always be present in court each day the matter comes up. You don't choose and determine the day you want to come to court.
In the meantime, the Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Olodare Jimoh, insists the human rights activist Omoyele Sowore remains wanted over plans to lead a protest to block the Third Mainland Bridge, citing concerns over public safety and potential damage to infrastructure. The commissioner stated that declaring Mr. Sowore wanted is to safeguard the lives and properties of residents in Lagos.
When somebody like Sowore is marching on the 8th of September 2025, thousands of people on the Third Mainland Bridge. Third Mainland Bridge is very critical to this country. Third Mainland Bridge, billions of dollars were invested to construct Third Mainland Bridge and even to maintain it. And there's quite a number of people that are medical concerned, that are traveling out, that have a lot of things to do. And they call out people on the 8th of September to block the Third Mainland Bridge. And I have no any other option than to go there and disperse them with smoke, using minimum force. Because it's also for anybody to verify that bridges are designed to carry moving weight, not a stationary weight. So what he has done is so terrible to the livelihood of Lagosians, which I will not allow it to happen. So by him going and say the IGP has declared that it should be shoot aside, that is a big misinformation and mischievous for which is known with. And I want to underscore the fact that I have the right to declare wanted based on my right in the Constitution. Any other person, I want you to let me finish this bit. Any other person that said I don't have such a right should go to court. But for me to ensure public safety and public security and the protection of life and property of Lagosian in Lagos State, for which I'm charged with that responsibility, I have the right to do everything possible within the ambit of the law to sustain this. And that is why I promptly declare wanted.
In part two, after the break, Coordinating Minister of Health, Mohammed Ali Pate, secures a multi-million-dollar investment to establish a diagnostic center in the nation's capital, Abuja. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. Federal government says foreign lobbyists are driving the narrative of an alleged Christian genocide in the country, urges the U.S. government to approach the issue with understanding. Absence of Omoyele Sowore in court stalls his arraignment, prompts the presiding judge to adjourn the case to December the 2nd. Coordinating Minister of Health, Mohammed Ali Pate, secures a multi-million-dollar investment to establish a diagnostic center in the nation's capital. And Democrats sweep the first major election of Donald Trump's second term, with the U.S. president saying the ongoing government shutdown is a major factor. The coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Muhammad Ali Pate, says that President Bola Tinubu's revised public-private partnership models in the health sector are attracting foreign exchange and new investments across the health services industry. Professor Pate stated this as he announced a multi-phase investment agreement of $35 million that will establish a new world-class diagnostic center, a research and imaging training facility, and cutting-edge imaging equipment across federal hospitals in all the zones. The minister made this announcement during his visit to Shanghai Universal Medical Imaging and Diagnostic Center at Shanghai University in China.
We visited the United Medical Imaging Center here at Shanghai University. This is an impressive diagnostic facility that has PET, MRI, PET, CT scan, mammography, various kinds of diagnostic equipment. And I think we saw what we can also ensure that Nigerians have access to across our federal facilities, across our hospitals, at least in the 6 geopolitical zones over time. Already, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is transforming Nigeria's healthcare system. Through NSIA, there are 10 major new diagnostic centers being constructed and equipped, in addition to the NSIA Federal Ministry of Health partnership that has brought infrastructural upgrades for cancer treatment all across Nigeria. Now, the entry of actors like the Universal Medical Imaging only adds to this effort, and the National Hospital in Abuja is identified as the first place where United Medical Imaging will have a diagnostic center over time. They are in discussion with the National Hospital so that we can see how to operationalize such a major diagnostic facility in our own national health system, starting with the National Hospital in Abuja. They're willing to commit initial $5 to $6 million in the first phase, and over time they have indicated to us at least $30 million more in the second phase. But we'll have to do it carefully, following due process, ensuring all the regulatory standards are met, and that the talent and our context is taken into account.
We turn our attention to the nation's capital now, where Gloria Omezoke is standing by to bring us more stories on the news at 10. Over to you, Gloria.
Thank you, Anne. We turn our attention to politics now, where the Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, is throwing its weight behind the National Working Committee led by the National Chairman, Mr. Umar Damagum, as it pledges support for the planned November 15 and 16 National Elective Convention of the party. Speaking at an emergency meeting of the Board of Trustees in Abuja, the BOT Chairman, Mr. Adolphus Nwabara, also called on warring members to sheath their swords and reconcile in the interest of the party. Meanwhile, the National Secretary of the party, Mr. Samuel Anyanwu, has described the meeting of the PDP Board of Trustees as a mere gathering of associates whose decisions cannot be binding on the party.
Members of the PDP Board of Trustees are meeting at the Bauchi State Governor's Lodge in Abuja to discuss recent developments in the party and chart a way forward. Presided over by the BOT chairman, matters including the recent court judgments regarding the party's planned convention and the recent suspensions and counter-suspensions that have split the PDP National Working Committee is on the table for deliberation.
My dear party leaders.
In his remarks, Mr. Umar Damagum urged members of the party to face the current challenges within the PDP with courage.
This meeting is convened to provide direction for our planning toward the convention and to also resolve our outstanding issues. We should be courageous. As always, I ask for us to be sincere in deliberations.
The meeting then entered into a closed-door session. At the end of the session, the Chairman Board of Trustees addresses journalists on key resolutions reached.
The BOT welcomes the ruling of the Oyo State High Court presided over by Justice A.L. Akintola, which affirmed the constitutional rights and liberty of our party to manage its internal affairs, including holding our 2025 elective national convention as scheduled. This landmark ruling is victory to democracy.
In a related development, members of the Samuel Anyanwu-led National Working Committee also held their meeting to review recent developments within the party, including the ruling of the Oyo State High Court that directed the party to go ahead with the convention.
We are also aware of an expert order recently issued by a High Court in Oyo State, while we await to the satisfied true copy of the said order. We reiterate that an expert order cannot override a subsistent judgment of the Federal High Court.
They also argued that the resolutions from the PDP Board of Trustees meeting cannot be binding on the party.
As we speak, we have a divided Board of Trustees. Most of those people you see today are not members of Board of Trustees. Some of them were just newly recruited and they have not been confirmed by the party. So that is a meeting of friends and associates that congregate as a Board of Trustees.
It's less than 2 weeks to the planned National Elective Convention of the PDP in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. However, the recent developments in the party has put much strain on the leadership structure of the PDP.
The Senate has passed a bill to prevent sexual harassment in the educational institutions and other places, prescribing stringent penalties for offenders. According to the provisions of the bill, any person convicted of serious sexual offences faces a prison term of not less than 5 years and up to 14 years without the option of a fine.
It's the second day of plenary for the week in the Senate as lawmakers resume deliberations with renewed focus on the Sexual Harassment in Education's Institutions Bill, which is a concurrent legislation from the Green Chamber.
We can use one bed.
Several lawmakers argued that the law should be expanded to ensure a broader protection against sexual misconduct.
Sexual harassment issues to students. I think it should have universal application even to workplaces. I think it's very important to protect our young, and not only young people, even elderly women have been sexually harassed. Sexual harassment goes both ways. Man harassing a woman harassing a man.
Normally we don't even go into much debate because there are bills that have been brought for concurrence, but that has been done. So a bill for now to prevent, prohibit and redress sexual harassment of students in our educational institutions, and for related matters 2025, HB 1598 third reading taken and passed.
The bill provides that any individual convicted of serious sexual offences faces jail term of a maximum 14 years. It also states that an administrative head found guilty of not referring a sexual harassment complaint to the expected authority is equally guilty and could face a minimum of 2 years jail term.
Distinguished colleagues,
separately, the upper chamber passed through second reading the Electric Vehicle Transition and Green Mobility Bill 2025, sponsored by Senator Oji Uzokalu.
With over 12 million registered vehicles in Nigeria, almost all powered by petrol or diesel, we are confronted with a pressing need to rethink on our mobility strategy. We pride ourselves as the giant of Africa, and it's not reflected in our own advancement in technology and other areas. It means we are not doing enough. It will lead to employment generation. It will lead also to industrial diversification.
Those in support that this bill be now read a second time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Meanwhile, the Senate has received an interim report of $303 billion unaccounted for over the years from the proceeds of stolen crude oil transactions. However, the Senate Committee on Crude Oil Theft, chaired by Senator Ned Nwoko, has been asked to revert after further consultations.
In a renewed effort to strengthen security and improve the capacity of policemen through training standards, Northern governors have embarked on an inspection tour of police colleges across the region to assess the state of infrastructure and identify areas that require urgent government intervention. Speaking during a tour of the police college in Kaduna, the governors expressed concern over the poor state of infrastructure at the college, in spite of its relevance to national security.
A delegation of Northern governors arrived at the police college in Kaduna State to inspect the condition of facilities and welfare of trainees and instructors in the institution. The Kaduna Police College is one of the oldest training institutions in Nigeria, established in 1945 to train recruits for the Northern region. However, despite its importance to the training of policemen for the country's internal security, the poor state of infrastructure in the college remained a national concern. On the instruction of the National Economic Council, the Northern governors inspect some of the facilities, including classrooms, hostels, and training grounds, most of which are in dilapidated conditions. After the tour, the governors expressed their concern over the state of infrastructure at the college.
Today we have started with Kaduna, and of course we went around to most of the strategic buildings around the institutions, and we have seen it ourselves. We have done an on-the-spot assessment. We've seen the dormitory, we've seen the kitchen, we've seen the training institutions, we've seen many facilities here.
The chairman of the delegation, Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State, says the collective visit reflects their commitment to improving the quality of policing in Nigeria, noting that effective security begins with proper training and motivation of personnel.
The spot inspections have given us insight and very good experience about what exists, particularly in this institution, and the whole idea is for us to be able to put that together and to recommend. But what I want you to know is that we already have a technical team that is going to carry out a thorough inspection of all these institutions. But as the members of the committee, we believe that we have to go on the spot inspection ourselves.
The commandant of the college, Mrs. Ronke Okunade, who received the governors, commended their concern and appeals for immediate support to restore the Kaduna Police College to standard.
As I am standing before you now, I don't have an official vehicle on my own, and if you go beyond this place and you go to the officers' quarters, you will feel sorry for the police. My own house is nothing to write home about, and I'm here as the commandant of the college. So many things we are lacking.
With growing security concerns across northern Nigeria, the governor's visit is considered a practical step towards addressing the root causes of inefficiency within the nation's policing system.
Well, still ahead on the news at 10, President Bola Tinubu requests the approval of the National Assembly to secure a 1.15 trillion naira domestic loan to help finance the 2025 budget deficit. That's in business news. Please join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. And to Borno State, where the government has set up the State Nutrition Council as part of efforts to curb cases of malnutrition in the state, especially in the conflict-affected areas. The Deputy Governor, Mr. Omar Gadufor, inaugurated the council in Maiduguri, the state capital. He also flagged off the implementation of the State Nutrition 774 initiative in the state.
One of the impact of the Boko Haram insurgency in Borno State is a rising rate of malnutrition, especially among children. Malnutrition is a major crisis in Nigeria, as the United Nations Children's Fund reports that it leads to 45% of under-5 deaths. The agency adds that 420,000 children suffer from severe acute malnutrition. In Borno, the Alliance for International Medical Action reports that at least 10 local government areas are in critical situation and another 7 are classified as serious. According to the humanitarian group, from January to May 2025, over 96,000 children with severe acute malnutrition were recorded in the state. The state government is not taking chances, and the inauguration of the State Nutrition Council is one of the steps that the government is taking to address the issue.
Malnutrition is multifaceted and is very serious. We have witnessed here in our nutrition hospital here in Maiduguri, numbers of children dying from severe acute malnutrition, especially when it's compounded by infectious diseases varying from malaria to measles, etc.
We are here for one reason and one reason alone: to introduce to you this initiative that touches the nerves of our society, which is also very, very dear to Mr. President. That is the Nutrition 774 initiative. Your Excellency, malnutrition is Nigeria's most silent killer. It does not announce itself with gunfire. It does not trend on social media, yet it slowly kills more dreams than conflict ever will.
As part of the inauguration, the state government also flagged off the implementation of the Nutrition 774 initiative, a program of the federal government that is designed to reduce the prevalence of nutrition in the country.
Over the years, Borno State has faced daunting challenges as a result of conflict, displacement, poverty, and limited access to basic services. Yet, through the grace of Almighty Allah and our collective efforts, we have made noteworthy progress in restoring peace, rebuilding communities, and reviving livelihoods.
The state government is promising to ensure that all hands are on deck to reduce malnutrition in the state, especially in rural areas.
That's it from the nation's capital. It's now back to Anne for more on the news at 10.
Thank you, Gloria.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, coming up in the first place is
Three Crowns, a leading Nigerian milk brand produced by Friesland Campina Wamco Nigeria PLC, has held the grand finale of the 10th edition of its flagship Mom Wellness Initiative, Three Crowns Mom of the Year, right here in Lagos. Following rigorous selection processes, Ugu Edith Uzamaka was announced the 2025 Three Crowns Mom of the Year, alongside May Wala in second place and Wakire Amarachi Ujunwa in third position, all winning an all-expense-paid trip to Zanzibar, Tanzania, and a one-year supply of Three Crowns milk. Also, Anozie Joy Uzoma, Adebola Omowumi, and Mrs. Anima Shaun Anuoluwapo took the 4th, 5th, and 6th positions, going home with premium home appliances and supply of Three Crowns milk. The selection exercise began with a verification process by the Lagos State Lottery Commission, Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, and a live draw where 50 contestants made it to the semi-finals before drilling to the 6 contestants who went on to the grand finale. At that event, which brought together families, stakeholders, and brand enthusiasts, the marketing director, Friesland Campina Wamco, Maureen Ifada, says the milestone edition reflects the company's enduring commitment to celebrating Nigerian mothers who embody love, resilience, care, and leadership within their families. And as Three Crowns Milk marks a decade of celebrating motherhood, the brand reaffirms its dedication to supporting the Nigerian families through nutrition, empowerment, and meaningful engagement.
And that's of the society. Then, because of that, if that the crown fits me, or it don't fit me,
the stakeholders in renewable energy and sustainability are calling for stronger collaboration with sectors to fast-track Africa's transition to clean energy and sustainable growth. This was the key focus at the 2025 edition of the Private Sector Environmental, Social and Governance Forum held in Lagos.
Which we had
which basically was the electrification program.
Now, in its third edition, the Pan-African Private Sector ESG Forum continues to drive critical conversations on how businesses across the continent can take greater ownership of their environmental, social, and governance performance, ensuring that economic growth goes hand in hand with environmental responsibility and the well-being of future generations.
Lagos has continued to demonstrate leadership.
This year's forum brings together key industry players with a shared mission to find practical solutions for balancing Africa's growing energy demands with the global push to reduce carbon emissions.
Within the Africa own mix, fossil fuels account for about 90%, with biofuels and waste making up a significant portion of the rest. Further, nearly 600 million people on the continent still lack access to electricity, food security, and water distress is a constant concern for the majority of Africans. A key enabler of progress is a predictable and progressive policy environment, which is essential to unlock the significant capital investments required for this transition.
At the NCC, we are working to foster such partnerships.
Through keynote speeches, panel discussions, and case studies, participants engage thought leaders and sustainability champions, exploring how ESG principles can be effectively woven into every aspect of business operations.
The benefit for the ecosystem for the country cannot scale until somebody forces everybody to do that thing.
You have people who are startups, you have people who are in established energy companies that are doing big things. And so they're coming to tell the small guys, like, look, for you to be able to play at this level, for us to be able to have maximum impact, we need to do it together.
So Stanbic IBTC is one organization that has also partnered with at least 3 different organizations to drive microcredit for people to access renewable energy.
The consensus at this year's forum is clear. Achieving energy security and decarbonization is not just critical to Africa's prosperity, but also essential to meeting global climate goals.
So it's important as well that all players, come together to see, how in their own little space can they really, add to this, and how can they help to scale up and make sure that we protect the environment from which we derive our livelihoods from, we give back in a sustained way, and also we take governance to the next level on a global scale.
For these events, we're going to put together a white paper that is going to serve as a reference point even to policymakers. So it's not just going to end here.
By championing bold policies, embracing innovative technologies, and empowering the next generation of sustainability leaders, the Private Sector ESG Forum believe Africa can chart a path toward a resilient and sustainable future for generations to come.
To take us through more stories from the world of business, let's join Jake Rogers.
Thank you, Anne. President Bola Tinubu has written to the House of Representatives seeking approval to borrow 1.15 trillion naira from the domestic market to fund the 2025 budget deficit. The president, in a letter read by the Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu on the floor of the House, highlighted that the deficit in the budget is due to the increase by the National Assembly against the budget proposal submitted by the executive.
Based on the foregoing, I wish to request for the approval of the House of Representatives for the establishment of a 1,150 billion naira borrowing program in the domestic debt market to close the unfunded 2025 budget deficit gap.
Nigeria has launched the sale of a dual tranche Eurobond valued at $2.25 billion, joining other African issuers taking advantage of lower borrowing costs. The issuance comes as the federal government shrugged off threats from the U.S. President Donald Trump of potential military action in the country over alleged genocide. Money made from the Eurobond issuance is expected to be used to address the country's 2025 fiscal budget deficit and refinance existing outstanding indebtedness. And from there, we head to the domestic stock market, which still remains in the negative territory for a third day this week. John Bekwa has more figures for you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Reports. Well, it does seem like concerns around the increase in the capital gains tax, which starts in January, is spreading in the market. Today, the most hit is MTN Nigeria. It lost 30 naira 90 kobo to close at 489 naira 20 kobo. When we look at the counters, we know it's just not about MTN. For instance, banking continues that downward trend. Stocks like Zenith Bank, they also experienced a lot of profit taking today. That kept the banking counter in the red. Consumer goods is, however, more hit than that. It's 1.09% in the red. Dangote Sugar lost 2 naira 40 kobo. That's a major contributor to that. Well, I guess the only surviving counter is the oil and gas. So after a lot of profit taking on Aradel, it was attractive enough for investors to jump in. So today it gained 7 naira 50 kobo and kept that counter in the green zone, 0.22%. But at the close of trade today is a reality check, which is more than 1 trillion naira has been taken away from the market by investors, and the market cap dropped to 95.664 trillion naira. The oil share, which was at 152,000 level intraday, had gone down to 150,813.42 at the close of trade, with the oil share in the red, 1.19%. So again, it's a victory to the bear.
Thank you, Ini. We end business news tonight with the global market midweek figures. That's business news tonight, and back to you.
Thank you, Joker. Zohran Mamdani has won New York City's race for mayor in a contest that rallied young voters and sparked debate about the future direction of the U.S. Democratic Party. Here's Simon Puse with more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
Zohran Mamdani has won New York City's race for mayor in a contest that rallied young voters and sparked debate about the future of the U.S. Democratic Party. Ugandan-born Mamdani, a Democrat, beat the former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo to become the youngest person in over a century to lead the largest city in the United States. Democrats also won governor races in Virginia and New Jersey, while in California, voters backed a proposition to redraw the congressional electoral map ahead of next year's midterm elections. Mamdani made affordability the central message of his campaign, pledging to expand social programs paid for by new taxes on high earners and corporations.
As we turn the page on a politics that abandons the many and answers only to the few. New York, tonight you have delivered a mandate for change, a mandate for a new kind of politics, a mandate for a city we can afford, and a mandate for a government that delivers exactly that. On January 1st, I will be sworn in as the mayor of New York City.
You guys just scream from the rooftops.
Meanwhile, the Democrat Mickey Sherrill, a New Jersey lawmaker serving in the U.S. House of Representatives, has won the governor's race in the Garden State. In one of several races that are seen as an indication of the public mood on the Trump administration's policies, Sherrill will succeed Democrat Governor Phil Murphy. The U.S. Naval Academy graduate, helicopter pilot and ex-federal prosecutor first entered politics in 2018 as anti-Trump sentiment washed over the U.S. during his first term. At least 7 people have been killed after a UPS cargo plane crashed while taking off from an airport in Louisville, Kentucky on Tuesday evening. The plane's 3 crew members are thought to be among the dead after the freight plane exploded as it departed Muhammad Ali International Airport at around 5:15 local time. At least 11 other people were injured when the plane crashed, sending thick plumes of black smoke into the sky. Officials have warned that people suffered very significant injuries in the incident and that the death toll could rise. At least 85 people have now been killed, while hundreds of thousands fled their homes as one of the strongest typhoons this year ripped through the central Philippines. Typhoon Kalmegi has flooded entire towns on the most populated central island of Cebu, where at least 49 of the fatalities were located. There are 75 others missing and 17 injured, according to officials. The official death toll, which is likely to rise, includes 6 crew members of a military helicopter that crashed on Mindanao Island, south of Cebu, after it was deployed to assist in relief efforts. A driver has rammed his car into pedestrians and cyclists on the holiday island of Ile-de-Léron off the west coast of France, leaving 4 people in a critical condition. A local man in his mid-30s had deliberately driven into people and was arrested after being immobilized with a stun gun. The man drove some short distance between 2 villages on the island, mowing down several people, including a young girl, the mayor said. He eventually abandoned his vehicle and set it alight before running away. A fire that broke out in a nursing home in northeast Bosnia has left 11 people dead and at least 30 others injured. The blaze started on Tuesday night at a retirement facility in the town of Tuzla, breaking out on the 7th floor shortly after 8:45 p.m. Around 20 people were sent to a medical centre for treatment, including firefighters, police officers, medical workers and employees. And the popular forum site Reddit has been added to Australia's world-first social media ban for children under 16 that starts next month. Live streaming platform Kick will also be included, bringing the number of sites targeted in the ban to 9. They include Facebook, X, Snapchat, TikTok and YouTube. From the 10th of December, tech companies can be fined up to 50 million Australian dollars if they do not take reasonable steps to deactivate existing accounts for under 16s.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. The Executive Committee of CAF has approved the expansion of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations from 12 to 16 teams, starting with the next edition to be staged in Morocco from March 17th to April the 3rd, 2026. As the qualification phase for the 2026 edition has already been completed, the Executive Committee has approved the selection mechanism to determine the 4 additional teams. The teams are Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, and Egypt, selected from amongst those eliminated using the current FIFA Women's World Rankings. Inter Milan and AC Milan moved one step closer to a new stadium of their own today after completing the purchase of the iconic San Siro, which is set for demolition. The 2 Serie A clubs announced the signing of the deed of sale with the municipality of Milan a little more than a month after the city approval for the acquisition of the land on which the stadium sits. Nicknamed football's La Scala, San Siro is one of the world's most recognizable stadiums and the longtime home of Inter and AC Milan, who between them have been crowned European champions 10 times. Away from football, Elena Rybakina completed a clean sweep of her group at the WTA Finals with a straightforward victory over. And that's it on Sports News. Anne is back now with the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Olumide. And the main news again. The federal government today said foreign lobbyists are driving the narrative of an alleged Christian genocide in Nigeria. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, who disclosed this during a press conference, is also asking the U.S. government to approach the issue with understanding. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Have a wonderful night rest.